All right, let me show you the two chairs that I have at my studio that you see in the videos at the moment. So one is the Balanced Body Wunda chair, and the other one is the Balanced Body Combo chair. I'll try and just go into particular things of each chair, but also just in general, if you're looking to get a chair, just what you might be looking for, and what's worth to have, what's not so important to have, so on and so forth. Okay, so the Wunda chair is the more classical piece, right? So it's built after, I think, more similar to Joseph Pilates' plan. It's still not probably as original as other more classical manufacturers like Basel or Gratz, but it's the one that I first got because I figured it's more to the source, so I just wanted to experience what that was like. And so it has two heavy springs. That's all it has. Pretty straightforward. It has one fixed pedal, all fine. I did not buy the handles in the beginning. I did add the handles later on, and what an excellent choice. So I would highly, 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 highly recommend handles. It's so much safer. You can do more exercises without being scared to death as an instructor. If it's just you personally at home, if you think you're fine without the handles, go for it. If you're teaching group classes where you just leave out all of the exercises that would require handles, by all means. But I love the handles. They just they open up a whole realm of exercises for a whole group of people, especially older people working on balance and so on and so forth. So I would not purchase a chair without handles anymore. So that's that. The base on this particular Wunda chair, so here the base is shorter than the pedal. That is maybe just you just have to be aware of it, and you have to talk to your students about it, because people always stand up close to the edge with their toes, and then the pedal comes down, and then the toes are underneath, right? It doesn't go all the way down, so they're not going to crush their toes stepping onto it, but you might touch the toenail. So it's just a little extra. You have to explain it every single time. The good thing about this combo chair, for instance, is that the pedal, that the base is slightly longer, or as long as the pedal, so you don't ever have to explain anything. Some people do step up onto it, but that's really, I don't know, probably less than 1% of people who, not being used to, step onto the base, and then the same thing would happen. But very, very, very few people. So I like the longer base. I don't like the shorter base so much, but oh well. The combo chair has really good traction on the floor. So I have a cork floor here in the studio, and it's rather slick. So I always have to be super careful with traction. And this is super solid. It's probably heavier as well than the Wunda chair, but it probably has some sticky things underneath, so it's great. The downside is you can't slide it because it has such a good traction. But it has wheels in the back, so you tilt it back. In order to move it, you tilt it back onto the wheels, and then you can wheel it through your studio, right? So that works beautifully. The Wunda chair slides better, so I can just slide that around on my chair. I'm not too worried about creating any problems on the floor. I've been doing this, and it's really not a problem at all. It's really smooth on the bottom side. But I do, if I do something like a standing leg pump and you're pushing down, it can move out of your way, right? So I usually put a mat under the front part. So I tip it a little bit, slide a mat underneath the base, and then it's pretty solid. So I do that for that. The Wunda chair comes with a stopper, this guy, and this goes under here, so it has 3 different spots. And it stops the pedal from coming all the way down, so you can limit range of motion. So if I put it on the outermost position, then it goes pretty far down, but not all the way. And the closer I move it in, the higher it stays, so the more limited is the range of motion. So especially if you do stuff like front lunges or side lunges, if you have a shorter client or just a weaker client, you can slide the stopper in, and they can be controlled at the top of the movement instead of coming all the way down. Also, just for people who keep going all the way down and resting on the floor, it stops them and gets them into the habit of staying a little bit higher. Smaller range is sometimes harder, isn't it? I usually keep the stopper just inside the chair, that way it's out of the way. So this one doesn't come with a stopper. I've seen people just put like a moon box or a yoga block or something underneath. It kind of does the same trick. I like that the Wunda chair has the particular stopper. I like that everything has its spot, so organized. So you could definitely do without that. Either way, you can figure out a way to do it on any other chair as well. So the nice thing about the combo chair is that it has a split pedal, right? So always make sure that each of the split pedals has a spring attached before you take the dowel out. And now you have the split pedal part. I'm a huge fan of the split pedal. I've seen online people discuss that, and I've seen that people say split pedal is not worth it. In my opinion, the split pedal is totally worth it. You can do so many rotational movements, and I find there's a lack of controlled rotational movements in Pilates or in general. So I love that for it. The big downside that comes with that, or the trade-off, is that you now have two springs, a heavy and a light spring attached to each of the pedals, which makes a total of 4 springs, 2 light ones, 2 heavy ones. And the spring setup for this thing is a little bit complicated. It took me forever, and I'm still getting used to it. It's just really tricky to find the right spring settings, because actually the real reason is that on the combo chair, because of where the pedal attaches, if you attach the spring higher, so this is actually really easy to show. So I have the spring attached to 4, to the highest cactus attachment, and this other pedal I attached to 1, right? So now if I have it on a lower resistance, the pedal is lower. If I have it on a higher resistance, the pedal is higher. So not only do you have to think about how heavy do you want to set the springs, you also have to consider where the pedal ends up. So if you're doing an exercise where you start sitting on top, let's say reverse swan, and you want to reach down behind you to reach the pedal, if this distance is this high, it's really hard to do. So you need to keep the pedal high. So you really only have the option of choosing a black on 4 or a 1 on 4 on high. Oh, sorry, the white spring on high or the black spring on high. You could maybe go to 3, but it already brings the pedal down, right? So you're kind of limited again in your options. In the Wunda chair, no matter how high the spring attachment is, the pedal is always at the same height. I like that part. It's very consistent. This is a little bit inconsistent in that regard. It is taller in general than the Wunda chair. The reason why it's taller is because Brent Anderson, who came up with this chair, wanted it to fit to the trapeze table, and it does. So it's a continuation. It makes the trap table longer, and that's wonderful because you can rest the person's body, whether prone, maybe let's say you do prone double arm pumps or swan on the chair, you can rest the person's body on the table, and then and so their lower body support it while they move their arms, especially for older and rehab clients. That's wonderful. For people who are younger, fitter people who are there for a workout, they don't need that, and it's fine. I got Balanced Body makes the chair risers, the sitting box riser, there it is. So you can add it to the end of this chair, so you have the same principle without having the trap table. And I just got it because I didn't want to wheel the chair to the trap table every time I wanted to do that. I wanted that flexibility. So I do use that with quite a few students. So that's that. I also already mentioned the poles. Never go without poles, in my opinion. There are other chairs with split pedal and stuff like that. Again, I totally think it's worth it. I wish this had fewer springs, so it's not too complicated. I like the simplicity of the 2 springs, but I love the split pedal. I think that's sort of the gist of it. If you obviously this is just 2 pieces of two different chairs. There's many other models out there as well, but I'm curious what you think, what your opinion is on the features of chairs in general. Oh yeah, let me talk about height. This is higher, so taller students, I like this better. Shorter students, I usually have this. I use this one. Side balance, if you're lying on sideways and you're pushing the pedal down, for somebody with a really long arm, it keeps pushing their shoulder up. They cannot fully extend, which I don't like, so I bring them here. So there's my bottom line. I like having both. I really do like having both. Both of them have a little bit of a downside. The lack of the split pedal here, the complicated setup here. But I like having the option, and then I tell each student, this exercise do it on this chair, the other exercise do it on that chair, and according to that we can find the best possible setup for the person. There it is.